might be Maybe Real to win it by a nose from Maybe Decoded, who's got awfully close, and Hulking Hammer's right there as well. It's photos all round. A grandstand finish stretched across, and then Black Friday, who I think has ran the fourth position. Now this is very close. Wide out Little Miss Miranda with Mauritian Lucas and Nurse Rosie at the end with Bambi Rose. Gee, Maybe Real getting tired, and Decoded's got one stride in. This is close. There's three of them hitting the line effectively together. I think it's between the 4 and the 9. It's a very close photo. It looked as if Maybe Real had the race shot to pieces, and then all of a sudden came back to a herd of runners stretched across the track that were closing in. And this is a really, really close go. The favourite scrambles in. Number 4's the winner. Officially in the frame, Maybe Real has done enough to stave off the fast finish of number 9, Decoded, who's got awfully close. It'll be a nose, the winning margin. The 6 right between them. It'll get the third, and maybe on the inside, Black Friday fourth. Yeah, it is that order that we went with. 4, 9, 6, 1, but gee, it was a big finish. And there wasn't much between about 6 of them when they've hit the line. It's a nose, the official winning margin by a half head. So effectively a nose, and it would have been no more than a head away to number 4 position. That was Black Friday. So grandstand finish is the result in race number 3 for the winner, for Brian Sonneman in 17.13, around 180 and 104, 290 for Decoded, 150 for Hulk King Hammer. The numbers here, 4, 9, 6 and 1. It's a nose by a half a head, 17.13. And Hulk King Hammer almost getting through to beat the 2 leaders. Hulk now angry. 4, 9, 6, 1. All clear up after race number 3. 4, 9, 6 and 1 with the all clear there.
On RSN Racing and Sport, it's time for the grey areas with Jason Adams and George Ferrugia.
That kid was a human dynamo.
Are you sure you're talking about George?
George of the jungle, friend to you and me.
Friday midday time for grey areas here on RSN 9 to 7, talking all things greyhound racing. A stack happening at Albion Park last night. Up in the Sunshine State as we build up to what is a big night at Warragul this evening. My name's Jason Adams, and as always, joined by my right-hand man, Georgie Ferrugia. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Are we enemies now that cricket season's over and we're getting closer to this Hawthorn-Sydney opening round, mate?
Opening rounds. Are you confident, are you?
No.
Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, because it's not at the MCG, or else we'd probably pants you.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, yeah.
What night is it on?
Sorry to bring it up straight away. I think it's a Friday night.
Well, you're a Friday specialist, so we'll have to sort something out. Yeah, let's do it.
Can we do the show from outside location?
Yeah, from outside the SCG or something.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you're not hydrated by that point in time.
Love the
show might be worth listening to.
You don't
Maybe it's better if you are hydrated, eh? All right, big show ahead. As I mentioned, lots happening at Brisbane last night, Warragul tonight, and then a bit happening in Sydney tomorrow night as well. And straight off the bat, a text message has come in. George, great run by Gold Scotch last night, of course, in the Golden Sands, a greyhound you own. If it wasn't so wet, she wins. Just a question. What do you think Anthony's drinking at the moment? Whiskey or Scotch? His kennel is flying.
Which one's more expensive? The Scotch? Is it?
I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah, I'm not a big that type of drinker. I just drink beer. But he's going well, and he could add to it tonight with Pass the Buck, obviously, going around. And he's got some runners in the heats of the Futurity and the Derby as well at Wentworth Park, which we'll touch on. But, yeah, no, I was really proud of her last night. If someone said to me that... you're going to run second in a Group 1 before the heat started, I would have taken it. Her heat win was great. I think she broke the first sectional record, and it probably puts her in contention for a race like the Rookie Rebel now with that form leading in. So, pretty excited by that. But Nangar Gypsy was too good, and Dennis Barnes, the old
is
fox,
a master,
gets it done again.
Absolute master. For generations of his own greyhounds, this continues to produce.
His breed has been absolutely fantastic time and time again, and he done it again. And look, she began really cleanly. Ethanol Water, no luck out of the boxes, Jace, was never in contention. Be interesting to see. She'll probably go for the Zoom top, wouldn't she, ahead of the Rookie Rebel?
You'd say so.
You got fast times over both. I mean, when I was sort of having a look at her form, breaking 34 seconds at the Meadows, incredible. She's got fast times over 500 metres. Just what a great litter it has been, but especially Ethanol Water has been fantastic.
For anyone else looking to get involved through the text message machine, 0416 90 50 52. We did flag on Wednesday as well. That next Wednesday we'll have a bit of a wagering discussion about any questions that people have when it comes to the landscape at the moment of betting on greyhound racing, whether it's getting bets on, whether it's markets opening, whether it's what happens to the markets once they're open. So we're willing to take any questions. We'll get all the information before we get back here on Wednesday. So if you want to fire them through now, so we've got a bit of time to get the answers for them, make sure you do so. 0416 90 50 52. George, in the past few weeks, we've spoken a little bit about the darts, and I've sort of half-educated you in what it's all about. This morning, I was up early watching the snooker. Is that something you've taken interest in over time?
Not really, no.
I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't know the point system, but I knew where the bloke was trying to land the white, and that was intriguing enough in its own right.
We've got to have a bet on it then.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
If there's a market, we've got to play it, don't we?
Absolutely.
I think it's the World Championships or Champion League or something, so maybe this time next week we'll have a look at that. What about the squad for Australia that's heading over to Sri Lanka? What have you made of that?
I haven't had a really good look at it. Any surprising omissions or inclusions?
Probably not full strength is one way to put it. A lot of youth heading over.
Anyone staying home?
There probably is. I saw Smith was going over as skipper. So that would mean Cummins must be here.
Yeah.
But shouldn't talk with great expertise because we've got no idea at all. On a Wednesday, Georgie, one thing I noticed, and we walked out after the show, I thought, how's the form of this bloke? You bring your two lovely kids along to RSN to spectate what's happening here at Grey Areas. You leave them out in the cafeteria as opposed to bring them here in the studio. Is that what sort of operator you are? Or
they said, Dad, we're hungry. Leave us your FPOS card and we'll go to town. And that's exactly what they did.
It wouldn't have declined.
They don't want to be in here with
the card
Dad.
wouldn't have declined.
Well, not for an egg and bacon muffin or whatever it was, but no, that's why. They were not going to come in here. I said, do you even listen to Dad? And the only one would have been Nate. Ella couldn't care, so that was okay. So, no, thanks for bringing that up. I took them out to a really nice restaurant last night, so they were very happy.
Geez, they're getting treated. They're going out in the city this weekend, cricket.
They are. Well, this is what you do on school holidays, and then we really get down to business. We went to this nice Spanish place. You went to Spanish food, mate?
Oh, I couldn't name a Spanish dish, mate. I've got no idea.
All right, so anchovies, octopus, tuna.
I'll have an anchovy and a pizza. I'm not sure about the rest of that crap.
Yeah, Bar Manolo in Brunswick Street in Fitzroy. It was very, very nice. For anyone who likes Spanish food, go there. And Cheryl had a couple of too many glasses of wine, and I had to drive home.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you fit and ready to drive home at that point in time?
Yeah, absolutely. I was the responsible parent, and it was good to see her sort of let her hair down. It's usually me for the other 364 of the year, mate. So she's, she had a really good time. So.
Form's pretty true, that's for sure. All right, lots happened since we were here on Wednesday, and big enough, on Wednesday night, we saw the track record broken at Ballarat. Hotel Whiskey won. I knew he was a fast dog, and everyone knows that. Plenty of class, but that's a record that a lot of fast greyhounds would have had a crack at.
It's one of those elusive records, and it has been broken a few times at Ballarat, where they've slowly nudged under the 25-second barrier, and they've certainly really nudged under it now in 24.66. I don't think it comes as a surprise for a lot of people because he's such a fast greyhound, especially over that distance, but he can run 500 metres, but he blew them away, and I think the track was conducive to not record-breaking times for every greyhound, but if you're as fast as Hotel Whiskey 1 is, he got the job done. So it probably holds him in good stead for a couple of the country cups coming up, but then he's good enough, and he's run at the Meadows when he went 29.60 odd.
17.5 at the back, something like that.
So, I mean, it just holds him in good stead for the big races coming up. Obviously, I'm alluding to the Australian Cup as well at the Meadows in late February, early March. So, yeah, look, I think Anthony's got a really handy one there that he can go in with a bit of confidence. Probably more so than Past the Buck, to be honest. I think he's gone past,
I agree.
Past the Buck as the kennel, the dog in the kennel for sure.
Another one to follow out at Ballarat meeting on Wednesday night. Kenya All Up. I'm not sure if you saw the win of him, George.
Yeah.
It went 24.87. Still not the best of the night, which of course went to Hotel Whiskey one. But this boy for Paul Abella's won 4 of 5, and he looks serious. I was lucky enough to speak to Paul on Wednesday afternoon after the show, and he was quite bullish about what this greyhound could be capable of.
Another son of Aston Rupee. So there are a couple coming through. We spoke about a couple of smart pups coming through the ranks. But, yeah, look, these Kenya Greyhounds are bred by the Weeks family in New South Wales, and they are predominantly, once they break them in, they're sellers. So there are a lot of people in Victoria who have jumped on a few Kenya greyhounds, Kenya All Class being one, obviously. Kenya All Up looks like he's another one with lots and lots of ability out of a very good female in Bombshell Bandit. So he's got the pedigree behind him. How far can he go? And when you're running those times as a young pup, Jace, you know it's pretty exciting.
How common is that method of going about your business compared to decades in the past of breeding then with the purpose of selling? We know it's such a big part of thoroughbred racing, but I haven't heard too much of that when it comes to greyhound racing. So is that a growing trend? Because the likes of Greg Sprott had worked in a similar way over the past 5 or 6 years. Is it a growing trend to be like that?
To buy dogs after breaking?
To breed them yourself, know them, they're quite handy, and still sell them?
Yeah, well, probably not. I suppose if the money's right. You don't often see it after they've broken in. Like, essentially as a breeder, usually if I'm going to sell a dog, it's probably at 3 months, Jace. And then if you sell the one that's fastest in the litter, that's fine. If you're in a better financial position to hold on to them and make sure they're reared properly, it probably makes sense then to sell them. But you've got to build up a reputation to sell them and be fair with your prices. And obviously the Weeks family have done that, especially with these dogs more recently. So, yeah, this is a pretty special greyhound.
Last night at Sandown, you absolutely dominated, mate. 2 from 2, a combined winning margin of almost 10 lengths. Paul Phelps was very good late in the night, but the one that you're really bullish about, not only for last night, but long-term going forward, Urana Xavier, he was very good in the opening race.
Yeah, and he's starting to get that back split up and running, Jace. 1876 down the back. We're starting to see that's pretty quick, and obviously he's running home in the 1050s. He's a pretty special greyhound, I think. Urana Xavier. He's a big boy too, nearly tipping the scales at 38 kilos, but he went very, very well. It was an impressive win. There was a greyhound that won the last race too, who's gone very well in its last couple of starts. Aston Gozo going 29-27. I think it ran something similar on the Monday before, or the Sunday before. So Robert Pilotis looks like he's got a handy one there. So the track was nice yesterday. I got run down there as well at Sandown.
Is that Group Bird?
Yeah, I'm going to have to buy a bridesmaid's dress.
Don't worry about taking the kids out this weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
Vegemite and cheese sangers instead of the luxurious options here at RSN.
In Mildura.
Outside of those that we've mentioned, Reality Best, very good in the free-for-all, and it's sort of a bit of a changing the guard sort of feeling about that race because you had Scalacci, Big Energy, Orly Bale, and she was first out, first home in very fast time.
Well, I was keen on Orly Bale, and I thought it sat into a nice enough position, Jace, where it was going to at least get into second spot to fill like an each way quote because it was nearly $6, but got into a little bit of trouble behind Big Energy. But you're right. You almost looked at it and thought Big Energy's run was a little bit flat, but then you look at the clock and he still ran 29-25.
It's hard to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Visually, I think natural to think that way, but the numbers tell another story.
And we hope Scalacci's all right, who was near the tail of the field. That's certainly not his caper, but if you have a look at the head-on, he certainly copped a heavy bump as they were nearing that first corner, so that sort of put paid to his race. But, Reality Best, once you start beating greyhounds of that sort of calibre, you're going with a little bit more confidence, I reckon.
Yep. For Karen Pitt, who, for her and her partner Wayne Vassallo, have sort of been away from the spotlight from the top end of town for a period of time, but outstanding operators, and Karen's got the biggest smile in greyhound racing.
Always seemingly have a fast dog in that kennel.
That they do. Outside of that, Zipping Kai, Hume Cup winner of a couple of months ago on the winners list as well. So that was the action last night at Sandown. And just before we get to this next race at Hillsville, Georgia, a lot of action last night in Brisbane. The 2 staying races that we spoke about on Wednesday. Irish Millie, from a Victorian point of view, was runner-up in that first one, and then Passmark defeated the mighty Val Policella in that second race over the 700.
Yeah, look, it was pelting down, and Passmark snapped an early break, and that was that. Look, Val Policella is probably near the end, I'd say.
Not that she was bad. She's performed worse than that recently. But, you compare her and Passmark, and I know Passmark's been underrated just about his whole career.
He's a fantastic dog, but she should be beating him at her best. So, look, she's had an unbelievable career, and, look, there's a couple of big races coming up. That might be her last hurrah. I don't know. We're not in contact with the connections, but Passmark was just too good for her.
All right, race 4 fast approaching at Hillsville. James Vandermart's with Bear Lee Band at the favourite at $2.50. Let's get to him for the 4th.
And they're at the starting point now. This is the 4th Won't be long and they'll be moving in for race number 4. A little bit of unknown. Barely Bandit hasn't raced since October, and on that occasion he looked to have gone amiss as a $1.30 favourite. Fronts up today, though, as the $2.60 elect. He's not getting any younger. He's nearly 5 years of age, Barely Bandit. He's first up from a break today, and he hasn't raced since the 28th of October, in which he did look to go amiss behind Elsie Dreaming. At his best, he'll be absolutely flashing home. There's no doubt about that. Starting signal now about to be turned on for race number 4, the Outer East Football and Netball Comp. 300 metres the distance. Favourites drawn the 2, and that's Barely Bandit ahead of the 5, Gary Newitt. Reserve number 10, Aston Courts, into the field, and does have a decent record up the straight, in particular with those 350-metre wins that Aston Courts was able to get early on in her career. First go here over the 300 metres today. Favourites in box 2. The get-back run on Barely Bandit. How far will he spot them early, the handicap? They're set to run. Green light. Off and racing. Barely Bandit, one of the last away. Out quickly, Gary Newitt with Aston Courts away quickly and driving through Heartland Prince. And they're being followed by She Can Dream. Barely Bandit's a minute back with Crackerjack Maxi and Juice. But it's Gary Newitt away from Heartland Prince, who runs on now. Gary Newitt, Heartland Prince, they hit it. Oh, I'm not 100% sure here. Gary Newitt had the nose in front. Heartland Prince has got a dive, might have missed. It might be Gary Newitt and nose Heartland Prince, but this is really, really close. Third, Barely Bandit. And fourth in, I'd say, Remember What, getting through from Crackerjack Maxi, Aston Courts. And at the end of the field, She Can Dream with Juice. Yeah, I'd lean to the 5 in this photo. 17.09, maybe Gary Newitt just. Looking at that, there just looks to be a margin, and there is a margin. It was getting desperate, though. Number 5 has done enough. Gary Newitt has staved off Heartland Prince, who was starting to really eat into that margin the last 2 or 3 strides. It'll be a nose again, the winning margin, but Gary Newitt's done enough. Fernando Bale, Anastasia, beautifully bred. S. Randall for Catherine Tabb, preparing at Lara, has just beaten Heartland Prince, who was closing in. Aston Duke, Trey Smidge for B. Evans and Jai Formosa. Third goes to 2, Barely Bandit. Nice return. Adele Power for Darren Ryan at Baronia. And the veteran was clearly doing his best work in the last few strides. 17.08 was the time. The interim numbers 5 from the 3, 2 and 4. All clear to come after the 4th race. Interim numbers 5, 3, 2, 4. The all clear to come on race number 4. And it goes to Gary Newitt.
Thanks to James there for the call of the 4th at Hillsville. Thrilling finish, but at the end, Gary did know. Gary Newitt, the 5, gets the job done. Georgie, we're touching on the action that took place at Albion Park last night up in the Sunshine State, and moving on to the heats of the Golden Ticket, and the first of them, I mean, you want to say this is quite a disgrace, how this boy did not start favourite. Your man, Smooth Plane, very good, breaking 30 seconds just, but as you said before, in horrendous conditions.
Yeah, look, I knew the track wasn't great when he led all the way and ran 29.99 at Albion Park. I mean, he could run 29.50 there, there's no doubt. He ended up being favourite just late, but he was touching $2, Jason. I went in for some more. Probably disrespectful is the wrong word, because the market is the market, but I know La Sagrada won a group race last week there, but it was an age-restricted race for the female chasers. Now she's up against a greyhound who was fantastic in the Phoenix and has been trialling the house down and won the Melbourne Cup night sprint. I just couldn't believe the price we were getting. I thought he was a $1.60 chance, and he was $2 at stages before the race. So her run was good behind him, but he just beat her easily. And I think he's come up with box 1 in his match race next week, and that's where my money's going to go. I know Lakeview Emily's in it and a few others, but his run was fantastic. Sometimes in greyhound racing, I think, Jason, opportunity presents itself where the odds are completely wrong. And in a 4-dog field, with all due respect to the 2 local greyhounds, I mean, he had panels on those last night, I thought. And with the intelligence that's within your cranium, Georgie, when the stars align, you've got to get involved. And most importantly, with Smooth Plane, he's one step closer to making the big final up there, and if he does win it, as we confirmed on the show on Wednesday, you'll be getting a Hawaiian-style shirt with Tom Daly's face printed all over it, which will be the highlight of 2025 for me. Are you making that phone call to Tom Daly to ask for a high-res pick?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll have one. He wouldn't know where he's got one. I've got plenty of him.
Yes, we're right to go.
We'll sort it out. Okay, other points of interest from the Golden Ticket Series, Warm Cockles, who you gave a good plug to on Wednesday, ran down Blue Kamara, and I think most people, when he led, thought he was going to win the race, but I mean, credit to Warm Cockles, who's been very good now for a few months.
I have to admit, I was surprised by that. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, watching it this morning, I thought I've seen the result and watching the race, you're like, right, what's going to unfold here? But
Yeah.
he's a fast dog, and nice to see him take advantage of that.
I always lean towards thinking that there might be something not right. And that's, I don't want to take anything away from Warm Cockles, but we've heard Josh Formosa talk about how strong Blue Camaro is and how he could run really fast time. He has. I mean, over 600 metres he could, but he just didn't look great to the line. He ended up running 30 and 30 himself, so he was 5 or 6 lengths behind what Smooth Plain did, and you wouldn't think there would be that much between those two greyhounds. But again, all credit to Warm Cockles. Was a really good win at the Meadows on Saturday in the lead up to that, and Dave Burnett's had a good night.
Another good contest was that of Good Odds Cobber and Lakeview Emily, who did battle, and Good Odds Cobber got the chocolates in the end.
Yeah, look, Lakeview Emily couldn't find the front early, Jason. That cost her, and she was sort of always umming and ahhing in traffic, and then got to the outside and nearly ended up snatching it right at the end. When they sort of cleared the decks for a super scrub, was the one that set the pace and ended up running last. But look, she's made her way through to the final, to the match races. Sorry, so. I'm sure Harley, if she's pulled up okay, just water off a duck's back and she'll go again next week. And we all know how quickly she can run, obviously becoming the second fastest female at Sandown Park with her 28.94 victory, becoming the 4th female to break 29 seconds at Sandown Park, by the way, for anyone who's listening. Looking forward to that battle between her and Smooth Plain.
And as we mentioned at the top of the show, Nangar Gypsy winning the Golden Sands for Dennis Barnes, defeating Gold Scotch and Tagavailoa for the Prince in Tommy Savalas. As we move on to tonight's card at Warragul, which is headlined by the Warragul Cup Final. We've spoken about this in the past few weeks, George, how on these marquee nights, the quality of the support card and the balance between filling the card with full fields and a full set of races compared to the quality of that. So the references in the past have been Phoenix Night, where personally it did feel a bit flat for most of the card leading up to the latter stages of the Phoenix and the better races that followed that. And then there was Sale Cup Night, where we saw some debutants going around in the first few races. And then tonight at Warragul, there's 7 of the 12 races that are either the equivalent of Tier 3 level or restricted win races. So, I mean, I know it's important, and it's an absolute demand of the racing department to fill fields on races on nights like this, to demand that Warragul meeting is in bright lights on Sky Racing 1. But I don't know, just as a purist, I just want a bit more meat to the bone on a night like this.
Yeah, where has this change come from, Jace? Especially Warragul Cup night. I remember there used to be, was it the Simon Benson Memorial Final as well, I think, was on the night? Like, they'd have some heats and final leading up.
That could be aligned to the St. Ledger, but you could be right as well.
Sorry, it might be the St. Ledger night. But we had some races, like we'd have a good distance race. Yeah, so who's this? What has that come down to the grading department? Is it because we've had some prize money losses in certain areas where we haven't been able to put some of these features on? What's the story?
Yeah, I don't want to speak out of school. I mean, I don't think there's been an actual decision made to go down this path. But naturally, when there's been cuts in top-ups and whatnot, then prize money evaporates somewhat, and some do go by the wayside as a result of that. So, look, I mean, it's really, I think the angle they've taken is that it's really important that we do get a full card on a night like that. So whether for the purists, and we're greedy and a bit naive to the challenges of actually being able to do that and deserve the place that it does get with all races on Sky One.
Yeah.
But certainly a good conversation.
I'll tell you what's not lacking, and that's race 10. Did you see that race with Zipping Grillis and Joey the Jet, obviously?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Race placement's another conversation as well.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of those
would have been nice as race 7, right?
It would have been a nice entree to the big one, for sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Because it is a
really
cracker.
Good race. It is a good race. Who are you sticking with? I mean, you had Zipping Hopkins at around the $21 mark, into $13 around now, Jay. So they've had a bit of a crunch on Zipping Hopkins. You were waiting for the each way odds.
I don't think he can win. I think he's a huge place chance at odds.
4 mini, yeah.
What place price is he at the moment?
$2.30, probably a bit short.
It's a bit skinny.
Yeah. I'm just keen on Vincent Bale. I think if he can sort of get the sit there, I think he's just a proven greyhound at this level. I know Zeus Thunderbolt could just lead all the way and, run 25-35 and, it's game, set and match. But Yeah, I just really like the way Vincent Bale goes about his business.
In the case of Zeus Thunderbolt, and this is more often discussed when it comes to stayers who are either first up or first up after a spell, and the second run being a little bit flat. For Zeus Thunderbolt, that was his first run for a few months. Is there any school of thought to think that he might not be as good this week as he was last week?
Yeah. It's interesting you said that, because when I spoke to Anthony Azzopardi this morning after last night's racing, just bringing up an example from my own dog, because again, trainers tell me stuff because I've never trained a dog in my life. But for instance, Gold Scotch went 34.20 at the Meadows and then led all the way at Sandown and only went 34.30, which sounds silly, but he said, I expected her to break 34 seconds. And he mentioned the exact thing that you're bringing up. He said, I think she was second up and it just took a little bit out of her. Now, that's over 600 metres. This is over the 460. But you might have a point, Jace, where he's fresh and absolutely firing. The only thing I'd say against that is that he's got the Greeno badge to his name, and they would have this greyhound as good as he can get. But that'd be an interesting point of view to see. But we clearly know he has to lead this race against the opposition that he's got thundering down on him in that straight. And we know Warrigal's a nice, big, long straight. So he just needs that little gap away from some of his rivals.
And speaking to Anthony, did he give you some sort of impression on what he expects from Pass the Buck tonight?
He's confident he can win the race. He said if he can begin as cleanly as he did in his heat, he thinks he can win the race. I thought his heat win was very, very good. He said he sort of got trodden on at the back and it cost him around the corner, and then when he straightened up, he was very good. And his time matches up in a race like this. But as you've mentioned, he's sort of fallen short in some of these big races in the past. Could this be the one where he gets the job done?
It's going to be a great contest, and clearly the market is favoured towards those inside 5 runners, and the others that we haven't touched on being Flying Zulu and Field Day, the Thompson duo there, where if either of those were to win, George, you wouldn't be stunned in the slightest way.
Well, it's incredible in a sense that we've spoken about this on the last 2 shows, and we really haven't touched on the 2 greyhounds who are trained by a trainer who has had the most unbelievable run. So it's got to come into contention. And we all know Flying Zulu, his fans, he will have some fans at $7. His each way odds. He just needs to get that start right, because you just can't be giving dogs starts and then running dogs down that are running 25.30, 25.40, which we know the greyhounds in 1, 2 and 3 can run. So yeah, interesting race.
But Vinny Bale, the one for you.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of speed in this race. Again, like I said, not that he's hopeless early, but I think he's boxed to really give this a shake. He's a greyhound that can come from behind. He's proven that. So, yeah, that's where my money lies.
And in that 10th race, as you mentioned, it's a good one. Zipping Grillis, Seagull Rocco as well, Power Paws, Hi There Frank, Joey the Jet. Is it up to Joey the Jet to win this week? It's not as challenging as what he's been up against over the past couple of months.
And his U-turn form before he come to Victoria was very good. So he'll handle this well. We know how good Zipping Grillis is too. So you'd expect a sub 25.50 run there probably as well tonight.
And where will we be tuning in tonight, watching the Warragul Cup?
I'll be at home, mate, watching it.
Feed up?
Yeah.
Chilled refreshments? Cricket on?
Is there a big bash tonight? Yeah.
It'd have to be.
Yeah. That's where
Stars on the board last night. Glenn Maxwell in full swing.
Yeah. They can't make the finals, can they, though? No.
Oh, I don't know how.
I think the
how
Renegades can if Brisbane Heat lose. That's what Nate told me. I'm going to stick with him.
All right, knows more than you, clearly. Sydney tomorrow night, Wentworth Park, heats of the Futurity and Derby, with plenty of Victorians to go around there.
Yeah. Look, they've come from far and wide. You mentioned the Prince before, Tom Savalas. He's taken a few there as well. He couldn't help himself yesterday. He said, how's you getting run down in 2 races yesterday? So he doesn't miss. So a shout out to Tom if he's listening. But yeah, look, the Victorians that we spoke about, Mark Delbridge taken a couple of the really good Paw greyhounds there, which will be really interesting. Just on that too, Paul Gunner, I noticed he's running at the Meadows tomorrow. Remember how he started his career, 29.80, 29.70? He's just dropped form. It'd be interesting to see what odds he starts tomorrow, because he just hasn't shown anything in his last 5 or 6 starts. But we all know at his best, Chase. He was probably the top of the Paw greyhounds, wasn't he?
Yeah. All right, we've got to wind up here, Georgie. Your tips for the Meadows tomorrow night?
Okay, race 3, number 1, really keen on Zipping Theron. Drawn really well in the Brooke Ennis camp. shows good speed. A couple of its runs recently have been really impressive. Race 3, number 1. And there's one that I like later in the program. I think she's back in form and at her best. This is a drop-in class for her. Race 9, number 4, Here Comes Millie. You would have seen her win at Sandown in 29.56, defeating Ezra Scarlett, and I just think at her best, she runs well here at the Meadows. She'll be hard to beat. Race 9, number 4. And an NFL one, sorry.
Yep, hit
The
us.
Philadelphia Eagles at the line against the Green Bay Packers. We've got Kuzi here who has a bet on the NFL, so I think the line's at 5 points, so back the Eagles. They should just win.
All right, Georgie, thank you very much, mate. Enjoy your weekend.
You too, mate.
If you can get along to Warragul tonight, there is casino games, there's cash giveaways, fun for the kids, and also you can meet AFL superstar in Clayton Oliver. So that is at Warragul tonight. Free entry, gates open at 6 o'clock. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Friday afternoon. And here is Andrew Bensley for the rest of race day.
You're on the RSN Racing and